Welcome to the Virtual Academy Leadership class. My name is Ryan Madsen, and I'm the advisor for the class. The purpose of this video is to just take you through some of the goals of the class and to talk about what my role is as the advisor, which is really to support you in building a year that you're going to be proud of and making an impact that will last. And we'll talk about your responsibilities and some of the goals that you might have and some of the expectations that we have for you. First of all, what is a leader? A leader is anyone who, instead of complaining about a problem, decides they are going to try to solve that problem. So the moment you decide, I'm going to try to make a difference rather than just find something to blame, you've become a leader. So a leader doesn't need to have anybody under them. They become a leader even if they're just an individual, as soon as they try to decide to be what we call proactive. So somebody who's made that decision might then include other people in that goal that they have. And this is what I'm calling service leadership. So somebody who is a service leader recognizes their team members, and they listen to their team members, and they start to see potential their team members may not see. And so they try to encourage their team members to apply that similar attitude of finding a solution. And they often help those team members unlock their potential. And also they help to notice the unique skills of each team member and help to put them together kind of like a puzzle to achieve something together that nobody could achieve on their own. One part of being a leader is something I want to use a metaphor that we call leaving the 99. Now, this metaphor is something that's sometimes used in a religious context, but in this idea and the way we're using it here is not a religious setting. It's applied to, you could apply this to a business setting or a political setting or a school setting like we have here. And essentially the way the metaphor goes is you have a sheep herder that's over 100 sheep, let's say, and one of those sheep gets lost. They're in a dangerous position, and they might be in a spot where they're scared, they're alone, they might be hurt. And so just thinking about this practically, you'd say, well, there's no reason to leave the 99 sheep because that might put them at risk, where you're trying to go save one and you might get into a worse situation. So you're better off just leaving that person behind, excluding them, and sticking with the 99. But the sheep herder doesn't do this. Sheep herder goes out and finds that lost or hurt or scared sheep, picks them up, takes them back, nurses them back to health, and then rejoins those 99 sheep. So the question is, what does this have to do with leadership? Okay, when we have somebody at our school, we're going to have people who might be very different. They might be socially awkward. They might feel insecure. They might even be, on the surface, they might even seem annoying. They may even smell bad. Okay, there's all of these things that may describe how somebody can be, in a sense, a lost sheep. So when we go out there as a leader and we go up to that person and we say, you know what, we want you to be part of this group and we're going to stand by you and we're not going to leave you behind. Okay, the interesting thing about this is, first of all, that can make a major impact on that person's life. But the part that we don't think about is that actually helps and profoundly impacts the other 99 people, or the major part of that team. Because the reality is that each of us, as part of a team or as part of a group, each of us feels a little bit awkward. Each of us feels a little bit insecure. And when we see our leader go out and take the person that seems to be the most awkward, the most backward, the least fit, the most different, and we see them put their arm around them and say, hey, you're part of this team and we're not leaving you behind. What it does is it helps everybody on that team feel more secure, feel more safe, and know that despite their flaws and insecurities, they are part of that team and that leader is going to stand by them. And in that safe circumstance, they can be much more creative and they can make a much greater impact. So I hope as you look at this year, you can look at how you can leave the 99. And by doing that, not only help that one person that's left out, but also strengthen everybody else in that group. Some requirements of leadership include vision, passion, discipline, and conscience. Vision is just a view, a clear view of a valuable goal, a place that you want your team to be. Passion is your commitment to that goal, your willingness to prioritize it among all of the other things that you might have going on in your life. Discipline is the ability to stick to that plan and that goal even when things become mundane and boring, and even when people aren't watching, when there's not crowds cheering you on. And then conscience is just the ability to do, what's right rather than just do what makes you feel powerful. And we can see many examples in history about both sides, about people that did things just because they might own more land, and others who took their position, like the founding fathers of the United States, and prioritized things like equality and freedom, which I view as things that are very, very positive. And we want to emphasize those similar positive goals. Now, the Virtual Academy leadership mission is listed here below. This was something that some of the people who are seniors now helped to create 3 years ago, along with some other leaders who have now graduated and moved on to college or jobs or whatever else they're doing. But I hope that as we read this, you can see and think about it as you plan activities this year, because we want those to align with this mission. It says, our mission is to create a culture and environment at Virtual Academy that makes all students feel welcome, safe, and connected. We create events and programs that are fun, build social connections, promote unity, encourage talent development, and lift those in need. Our success is measured by how we reach the individual, regardless of their background, beliefs, or abilities. We encourage every team member to be a leader by developing the skills and attitude to change the world for the better. So hopefully you'll get a chance to read that over and kind of see what we're trying to achieve here, because it's not random and it's not just things that keep us occupied, but we have a purpose in what we're doing. Our Virtual Academy leadership motto is all in. Very simple, and it has kind of two meanings. Number one is that meaning of commitment, meaning that we're fully committed to the goals of our program. The second one is the concept of everybody's included. We're all in. There's not anybody that should be left out. Now the values, this is another thing that our senior class and other people, leaders at that time, helped come up with. They include integrity, communication, respect, kindness, authenticity, trust, acceptance, health, resilience, and creativity. Now, the leadership structure that we use is something that we call projectized leadership structure. And this is a common term. I worked in technology for about 13 or 14 years. This is a very common structure that's used in technology. And what that means is that each project or each activity has a leader or a manager. And when it comes to that project, that manager is like the CEO. Okay, they are the ones that are giving out the instructions and the delegation. So somebody like myself, who is the advisor, if maybe somebody in the class, whoever that might be, we'll say if Dave in the class, I don't know if we have any Daves, but if somebody named Dave in the class is the manager for an activity, that means that if Dave wants me to do something, Dave gives me an assignment as if I'm his team member, as if I'm almost like his employee. So this is kind of a review of that idea. The manager then of the activity is the CEO. And the exciting thing about this is we get to see leaders that a lot of times, it's funny, but a lot of times the people that, excuse me, consider themselves the least expert at leading oftentimes become some of the strongest leaders. And one of the reasons for that is because I think they're oftentimes able to empathize with their team members. They're really able to understand the people around them, and their focus is not simply on bringing attention to themselves. So at times we might have our presidents or vice presidents lead an activity. At times it'll be other people leading those activities and giving assignments to the presidents, vice presidents, and me as well. My grading philosophy is kind of summarized with this green light. What I want to do is for those people who are dedicated and showing up to activities, I want to essentially get out of the way, because I know you'll bring a lot of creativity, a lot of motivation, and a vision that I think is great for our school. So when you come with that attitude, I want to get out of your way. I don't want to have you running around writing a lot of assignments or doing a lot of check boxes in order to get a good grade. I want to make sure you get that good grade. Now, you will still need to do some things, but you'll find that as long as you're here for the right reasons, you pretty much end up with a good grade simply by doing things in the right way and having the right intentions. Now, on the other hand, we want to make sure that if somebody hasn't learned and have built that maturity and vision to be able to want to have a positive impact and want to make a difference, we want to make sure that they have a system that is motivating to them and helps them to change their approaches and develop that sense of accountability and responsibility. So that's why we do have points that are given out for things like attendance and for developing and applying leadership skills. So here's how that works. First of all, grading. It's required that you attend all mandatory classes. All of our mandatory classes are going to be on Fridays, so you pretty much need to be here every Friday. And there's a saying that showing up is 90% of success. And for sure, when it comes to leadership, if you're not there, then it's going to be pretty hard for you to develop leadership skills or apply them. Now, another important thing here is it's not just showing up. We need you to show up on time. We need you to not leave early. And we also need you to contribute positively in class. If we have side conversations, if we have cell phone usage, those are the types of things that would make you fall short of those potential daily attendance points. Now, if you're in a situation where you know you're not going to be able to make it to classes consistently, if you have to miss one or two, there will be some ways to make those up. But if you know you're going to be missing, say, half the classes or even a third of the classes or more because of a conflict, then let's talk, because leadership might not be the optimal class for you to take. There could be other options that could work a lot better. So come talk to me if that's the case in your situation. Additionally, with grading, we require attendance at all leadership activities. So when leadership plans something, if it's after school, if it's in the evening, or most commonly if it's maybe during lunch or during the break, we want you to attend. We need you to be there to support it. We need you to be there to help and motivate other students at the school to be involved. And attendance at an activity means not just showing up, though that is probably the most important part. It also means either helping set up or helping clean up. So you have to kind of be there at one side or the other, and that would constitute full attendance at an activity. Again, we know that there will be occasional times when that doesn't work, and we do have some makeup assignments. For example, if you're on a sports team that is traveling at that time, in those cases, come and talk to me, and we do have some makeup assignments that you can do to substitute for those. But makeup assignments are not for substituting for all leadership activities. They're for substituting for the occasional leadership activity. And so come talk to me if you have questions about that. We'll have more about that in the syllabus. So for makeup, just to give you an idea of what makeup involves. So generally it will require, if you need to make up, like for example, a class period is worth 10 points. If you show up and your attendance points are worth 10 points. And so to make that up, you would need to read about 25 pages of an approved leadership book. So in Canvas, I have, probably 20 or 30 leadership books. And if you read 25 pages and you do a summary of it on a certain form that I have, then you can get 10 points and make up for a missed activity or a missed mandatory day. The other option is we do have some approved leadership movies. If you watch about an hour of a leadership movie, you can get 10 points that way as well. And there are leadership speeches and articles that you can also get 10 points for. So it's kind of in that range. Each of these assignments come in 10-point chunks. And again, this is not something that's an endless thing. You can't just decide not to show up and then simply read a book. This is something that we can use on occasion, and we'll outline that further in the syllabus. And then finally, we have a semester leadership project. The semester leadership project just is a plan that you create for how you're going to develop and or demonstrate your leadership. Because in the process of demonstrating it, that's really where you start to learn. Now, this isn't maybe as complex as it sounds. It could be relatively simple. Let me give you some examples of things that would qualify for your semester leadership project. And just to clarify, this needs to be completed at some point in the semester. So we're talking between August and December for fall, or January and May for the spring. So here's some ideas. For example, if you were to be the project manager for 2 different in-school activities, that would qualify for your leadership project. Then you'd do a short review of that at the end of the second semester, and that would qualify. Another thing that we're going to be starting is a mentor program. So if you become a student mentor, you meet weekly with your peer, then that will absolutely qualify. Okay, and in fact, that would be an excellent leadership project. Another one is to be a project manager for a major after-school activity. For example, if you're in charge of if you're one of the co-leaders, let's say, for homecoming, that alone would absolutely qualify. That's a big job. It's probably a 3 to 4 month job, and that would definitely fit in that category. Another example, lead a substantial service project or fundraiser. Especially if you do really well at that fundraiser, then that's absolutely something that would qualify for that. But I won't dictate exactly what you need to do. I will let you propose it, but depending on what you propose, I may ask you to extend that and make it a little bit larger than what you're doing. I want to see you stretch in this, okay? And there might be a little bit of customization. If somebody is very new to leadership, then we might have something that takes maybe a similar amount of work, but maybe doesn't involve as much out in front type of leadership. Or there might even be somebody who's just developing the concepts of leadership, and I might have them, they might propose reading one of the books, reading the complete book, one of our leadership books in our leadership library. That might qualify as well. So please take some time to think about that. I want you to take this as just something that fits with your goals. This should just be, hey, this should just be one of those opportunities where you say, I can do this, and it's exactly what I want to do because I'm here to develop leadership skills. So it shouldn't feel like an additional burden. It just should feel like something that aligns with your purpose in taking this class in the first place. Okay, then finally, we do have a leadership manual that we're finishing up, but that leadership manual is going to include our mission and our values that you've already seen, but also the policies and procedures. For example, how to run a meeting, how we make decisions, which many times is going to be based on the vote of the leadership team is one of the ways we make decisions. And so we'll complete that and provide that and post it in Canvas. And then if there are days where I'm not there, then I'll have another student who will be there to ensure that those policies and procedures are followed. And that student will be acting kind of like a parliamentarian, like, for example, in Congress. Their job is not to determine what the leadership group decides, but instead ensure that they follow the correct procedures in order to make those decisions. And that's what that person will do, and that's what the leadership manual will cover. Finally, I just want to close with a little quote, hopefully that can inspire you as you start off with this year. I'm missing a space on this quote, but what it says is the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I'm excited to see what our team is going to create this year. And I challenge you to find the skills that you have and put them to use, and recognize that oftentimes we are much more powerful than what we think. And I'm excited to see what this team achieves this year. Thank you.